but it ultimately kind of gets back to the roots of it towards the end, which I appreciated that where it gets to, while guided by the message of faith and love, which is kind of at the core of this movie and what it should be. Uh, Hey, what's going on? Jim Alexander here with Real Talker, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Angel Studios' new movie, The Shift. So let's take a look at it, and we'll dive into it. All right, The Shift. Angel Studios been on a roll this year. Uh, Hit movie, The Sound of Freedom did really well for him. Afterlife was another one they recently had, and now for the holiday season, The Shift will be releasing. And this film stars pretty good cast here. After, by the way, it was After Death, not Afterlife. Check it out; it's an interesting film. This film stars Kristoffer Polaha. For those of you that might recognize him, he's done a lot of holiday Hallmark movies. So he's that guy, the romantic lead, usually in the Christmas Hallmark movies. And he does a great job here. I thought it was a different role for him. He's got a lot of potential as an actor, great look, good voice. Good acting skills, and I think he demonstrated this. This is unlike the other Angel movies. This is a sci-fi, pretty much, although it doesn't feel like it, and especially initially on. And I think it's a mistake to kind of make it a sci-fi, but I'll delve into that in a bit. But it still has the same Angel Studios connotations about faith, religion, messages being kind of trans trans scribed, I guess is the word, or delivered. How about that? Good cast here all around. So we have Kristoffer Polaha, Neil McDonough's in it, Sean Astin. Um, you have some really kind of talented people aboard it. For those of you who are familiar with The Chosen, Elizabeth Tabish is in here, plays a big role here. Rose Reed, a young actress I'm a fan of. So you have a really good cast here, kind of all around in this film. So they did well with that. It's directed by Brock Heasley and written by him also. So yeah, it's basically about a man who has this encounter with a mysterious individual who kind of shifts his life and puts him into this dystopian world where he needs to get through leaning on his faith and beliefs and get back to his world and his wife that he loves. And we see him sort of early on get into this accident, and that's where he encounters, sort of that shift and is sent on this multiverse world. And it really is sort of a multiverse thing that happens here. Now, delving into this, I'm a fan of Angel Studios. I think they do solid movies with good messages, and they've been intriguing. This one I'm torn on because the beginning and end are really interesting and good. The middle is just all over the place and kind of out of control. I think the sci-fi portion, which it starts out as a drama, and it's a really interesting one too. Uh, but when it goes to the sci-fi, I just wasn't sure why they had to go sci-fi with this. It felt like you were in like a literally a sci-fi movie, like a Blade Runner or something, and it just didn't have to be that. Because if you wanted to deter from sort of the drama and initial setup, you could have just made it maybe a movie that's kind of instead of just sci-fi, one that's explores, you know, another universe. You could have still used the multiverse concept, you know. It just, I don't think what they did, they made it into not only a sci-fi, but it was like an action movie with shooting and guns and all that. It just didn't fit what this movie was and the message it tried to convey. So when it tried to convey the, you know, the sort of religious teachings and messages, it just felt weird when people are shooting up each other and dodging bullets. You know, it just didn't feel fitting. It was just such a weird parallel that didn't fit together. I was hooked initially by how this movie starts, and a guy that obviously that's played by Kristoffer Polaha, who plays this guy named Kevin Garner, and he meets this woman at a bar, and they have this really nice, sweet sort of connection. You know, it felt very authentic too. Like they just kind of meet each other at a bar, and she's kind of being egged on by her friends to talk to him, and he's just there, kind of drinking his sorrows away in a sense, being a loner. And the way they hit it off, and they placed a significant amount of time. It was a long scene in a way, and it was just very relatable. I feel like people meet like this at bars and talk to each other, and the acting was really good by Elizabeth Tabish and Christopher Polaha. I'm like, wow, this movie's got a very romantic sense to it, and it could have been like, I felt like it could have been a romantic drama with some sci-fi elements, or whatever you want to call them. Um, that Nicholas Sparks movies have, or some of these romantic movies of fate aligning. It could have had all these things, and then you would have your, messages kind of come through better here because it would have been a lot more on par. But when you're doing the shootout dystopian sci-fi thing, it just really was a weird mixture and combination, turned me off from this movie. And that's when it started dragging. When it got to that point, this movie's an hour 55. If you had cut off a lot more of this dystopian sort of sci-fi shootout action at like maybe an hour 40, I think this could have been a lot better movie, and especially kept it more grounded to what the setup initially is about this guy and woman who meet and fall in love and have a family, and then something happens to it. I'm not going to give it all away. And that kind of makes them fall apart, you know? So I felt like there's a great romantic tale here, and sort of a movie about family, and, and of course, Angel Studios likes providing a message of faith, um, faith driven message. And it could have all worked well. Like I said, I'm just not a fan of this dystopian thing. It felt too Blade Runner ish and just didn't fit this movie and the budget and all that it had to do with it, and the movie it wanted to be. And I think it was just kind of a waste of some good actors at a lot of key points here. Neil McDonough is great. He plays this sort of a devilish figure, that um, tries to lure uh, Christopher Polaha's character in, and by promising him things, promising him a version of a life. There's a lot of things I didn't understand really when I was watching, especially the dystopian part where his character gets to go to this dude's I don't know, warehouse and watch a recording of the multiverses. It just wasn't explained really. It was just very random, and like there's other ways to get around to get to that this movie could have done. And it just uses these weird cheap shortcuts that don't make sense, that left me puzzled and not understanding what's going on. So that was a miss right there too. But it ultimately kind of gets back to the roots of it towards the end, which I appreciated, that where it gets to, while guided by the message of faith and love, which is kind of at the core of this movie and what it should be. It just, I'm so bothered by this like sci-fi distraction. But otherwise, there's some good elements. Once again, I feel like had it been changed about, I really would have liked this movie. Now it kind of gives me a tough review of it because I really liked the beginning and I thought the end was intriguing too. And one now get you thinking and talking about it, and maybe upset even with the ending. I could see how people would be sort of annoyed or upset, like, what just happened? Why? But it's understandable if you kind of watch the movie. I kind of like the different direction he took on the ending, a different spin on it. I thought it was really interesting once you see it. And the beginning, which is like you suckered into these characters and their love story, and I thought it was great, and it was very authentic and natural. No fault of the actors here. I think Kristoffer Polaha does a fantastic job. He's a really good actor to look out for. I hope this sort of just doing a different genre than his holiday Hallmark movies. This guy's got range. He can be someone really uh, a star potential, actually. Like I said, he's got the tools needed to be a mainstream guy. And I hopefully this maybe is a path or a route that maybe will shift him away from being typecast. Although he's done a great job. My mom's a big fan of his, watching Christmas romantic movies, but I think we have something here with this actor. And he's appeared in other movies. He's appeared in the last Jurassic, whatever it is, Park, Dominion, World, and he was in that last Jurassic Park movie. And like I said, there's some really talented actors. I'm a big fan of Rose Reed, a young up and coming actress too. That I've been impressed with. That I've seen in some roles. Obviously, a big fan of Elizabeth Tabish, who's on The Chosen and plays Mary Magdalene. For those of you who are fans of that show, Sean Astin, just a known actor, with a big following. Neil McDonough also, he plays the benefactor. That's his name here in this film. But yeah, there's a lot of messages of good and evil, and a man trying to be tempted constantly and lured by promises of a perfect marriage and great family life, and having all you want and avoiding struggle in life, or leaning on your faith and being authentic, and going through the ups and downs to get it to get to a point on your own, without knowing the end result of it. So I thought it was interesting. I think the messages here are actually pretty good, and if you pick up on them, you follow along, you'll get to them. So there's that. Score time, acting. I thought it was really good all around. Kristoffer Polaha, good cast, good actors. They did their job. Nothing was overacted or over the top. The script's got problems, but not the actors. Solid, I'd say 7 out of 10. Now, for the entertainment, like I said, it had me hooked early on, and I really liked where it was going initially until it really deviated to a route I didn't like. And for that factor, where think the meat of the movie, the middle of it is a lot of the portion of the movie, and that was just kind of losing my interest by the minute, and just kind of hoping it changes. It shifts literally to something better, and I got to give that a 6 out of 10. That's kind of being generous, probably more of a 5 out of 10. But I was very entertained by the beginning, and I appreciated the ending, so that kind of brought up the score. Plot story, like I said, you had a lot of potential here with the plot, where this could have been a really nice romantic movie with a little sort of multiverse perspective of what ifs, of the choices you make, uh, and how they affect, and different lives you might be having in different multiverses. It's just an interesting theory. So I'll give the plot here a 5 out of 10, because the middle of it, that sci-fi action thing, just did not work. Impression. I think the messages, as I mentioned, are good here, and intriguing, and it makes you think, right? And I think all good movies make you think and reflect and ponder and wonder. And even here at the ending, it's an ending that'll make you want to discuss it. So I thought the impression it made was a 8 out of 10, and that it's, if I overlook sort of the crap fodder in the middle that really didn't make sense, but the bookends of this movie, beginning and end, that did, and the messages along the way. So 8 out of 10 on that. And the creativity, I mean, they tried something different here. Angel Studios, a faith-based movie with multiverses, going a little Marvel route here, and switching that up. So not something I've really seen or is really out there often, especially with the faith-based message and the romantic feel this movie has of it. And yeah, but it's the sci-fi thing. I guess I'll give him a point for creativity here because he really went off track. But what this movie was ultimately is what matters. So creativity 7 out of 10. I thought it was just a different spin on a faith-based movie and a movie about love and family, and you know, recognizing what's important in life. And I think you'll get that message ultimately in this movie about looking inward. And Kristoffer Polaha's character here really displays it well in all aspects of it. So interesting stuff from Angel Studios. Overall, I'd probably mix up these scores and give it a score of a 66%. So I'd see it. It's not going to be one of their best things or anything. If you're a fan of Angel Studios, yeah, it's worth a shot. I just think to see some good actors here and potential of a good story. I think it had a great building block for a really good, interesting film. It was the execution was the problem. Just not executed well and trying too much. I think this is a classic example of you have something cooking here, but you're throwing in ingredients that don't need to be there. And it ultimately ruins sort of the taste of something where if you just gone along with what you started, would have been a lot better meal and end result. And that's the problem here. The shift, too much shifting, and it's shifted in one wrong direction that kind of hurts this film. But a 66 is still watchable. It's still recommend enough to go see it and make your own interpretation of it. So there's that. For the shift, make sure to subscribe. Helps out a lot when you subscribe. Keeps me doing these reviews for you. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you have comments, if you're a fan of Angel Studios, if you're ready to see this film, you're a fan of Kristoffer Polaha or any of these other actors, comment. Let me know what you think about this. I know Angel Studios seems to be kind of polarizing to some, and people feel strongly about it in a good way and I guess bad way. Although I don't think they have a bad message really to convey ultimately. But I guess people have their thoughts. And yes, there's a special message at the end, like with all Angel Studios movies. So stick around. Kristoffer Polaha's there for that message too. So there's that. And you can follow me on social media at the Jim Alexander. That's on X, Instagram, TikTok, and also you can follow me at The Real Talker too. So follow me in those two places, subscribe, and I think you might have a good idea if you should see the shift. I'd say go with it. Not and heck, maybe you will like the sci-fi action element to it. I just didn't think it fit at all, but hey, that's why we go to the movies, right? And not going to prevent you from seeing this one. See it and have your interpretation. Like I said, it had potential to be really good, ended up being just mediocre because of the middle of it. So there's that. Until next time, I am out. See ya.